Welcome to the Biz to Biz podcast, your number one source for all business news.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of B2B Vault, where we're going to dive into AI with Felipe Chaves, who's from Triplo AI, and he's in Rio, Brazil. And he has a new AI software product, or newish. And we're going to dive in and talk a little bit about AI today, because AI is a super popular subject on Google. Everybody's searching around for AI. People know about, OpenAI, ChatGPT, whatever's on Edge, their product, Claude, all these different products that are out there. So, AI is everywhere, and we're going to dive in and talk about it today. So, Felipe, give us a little intro.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Alan. I'm an enthusiast of tech. My story is like I was a marketeer by design. So I worked for most of large industries that your audience for sure know. I worked for Coca-Cola, L'Oreal, and GSK, and so on and so forth. And now I'm developing Triplo AI, which is a productivity assistant. This is the way we call it. And I also work for a big data company here in South America. So my pleasure talking about AI. It's a very good subject to discuss.
Okay. So, what we try to do on the show is give people an idea, like everybody sees like different things. Oh, I can put an AI chatbot on my website. Maybe I've seen companies take AI, build like an AI that accesses their like frequently asked questions. So you could ask the AI a question instead of you scrolling through like 1,000 pages on a document, on a FAQ from like a software company. So what kind of things can business owners do with AI to kind of dip their toe in?
Oh, there's a lot of buzz around the topic nowadays, and I fully understand. It's such a clever machine that's capable of like mimicking what you do. And to be fair, there are like solutions or people trying to sell solutions about pretty much anything. You can build like a second brain, so you can store all of your documents and things and think about it and question about it. You can create like support ticketing solutions and writing better emails and so on and so forth. But the thing is that although one day will be there where AI can take these responsibilities all alone, as of now, everyone should be kind of aware and cautious about leaving AI to talk alone with your customers. The thing is that even those who developed it, so I'm talking about the OpenAI guys, Ilya Sutskever, and so on and so forth, they don't fully understand what are the barriers and the intricacies that these models or this intelligence and how they work. So it's not uncommon for someone to see something like what happened with like PayPal. If you jump into PayPal and there's this chatbot for emergencies and you say, I got scammed, and there's like a meme running around the Facebook today, and then the chatbot answers, oh, great. So how can I help you? you see, so the thing is that we don't know exactly how to put these barriers on AI to work in a particular way. And the second thing, especially if you're doing research and you're like using it as if it was like a Google solution, so you can save time not digging on things, is that AI was not designed to challenge you. So even though if you're asking like a wrong concept of it, it tends to tell you, well, this things is kind of like that, and then like put you on a paragraph that makes you feel, well, maybe that's not that bad. So you hardly hear from any AI model something like, don't do that, Alan, that's just wrong. You should avoid it,
Right.
Only if you're like hitting the barriers of like security and this kind of stuff. So barriers of the model. But on a daily basis, it's amazing if there's a human, in my vision, the way I see it, it's amazing if there's a human taking care of it. So the way we designed Triplo AI, for example, is that you always have a human like taking action and using AI to do the heavy work. So if I'm writing an email, it will write for me, then I will prove it, and it's done.
Yeah, one of the things I've been saying about AI is people talk about, oh, well, robots replace people. And then you see like there are robots in manufacturing and unloading ships at the port and unloading trucks and things like that. And
Yeah.
AI, I think, is that people need to develop AI skills. Like today, you need to, if you have to write an email for work, right? Use a open AI, type in the email and say, hey, give this to me, make it sound a little bit better. And it's aimed at, I'm sending this email to my employees, or I'm sending this email out to potential customers for this product.
Yeah.
And learn how you can use it, because eventually people that know how to use AI are going to replace people who don't know how to use AI.
I couldn't agree more. We have like 10,000 active users nowadays. And one of the things that I spend most of my time on my YouTube channel or on support tickets is like guiding them on how to better ask things for AI. Because depending, the analogy that I do, especially for business owners, which is amazing, is that I remember the time when I was on like a huge board meeting room in one of these large companies that I worked for, and then out of the blue come a hooky analyst that everyone saw as a potential. So the guy was speaking quite well. He seemed to understand everything. He was kind of very open to discuss things and so on and so forth. But in the end, he lacked experience. So every time you were guiding this individual, you should be as precise as possible and guide him with context and telling him exactly what you expect out of him, because else he thinks he's too smart for you and then will deliver something that you don't expect. So the metaphor that I use for AI is that it's a very young, skilled analyst. And if you ask it the right way, you get amazing results, I'm pretty sure. And you can like bundle documents and context and stuff, but be careful, because it's just an analyst. It's not skilled as you are. You are still, at least in God, because one day we won't be in this position anymore, but we are still the most important side of the equation. And then
Yeah, you have
let's see
to.
what.
I think people need to figure out, like, I don't know if they're, I see classes on, Google has some free classes on AI, and Coursera has a class I think you have to pay for. But one of the things that I see is you really have to learn how to write a prompt. So I was talking to one of the people in my office, and I was like, well, you don't just say, oh, I need a picture of a toolbox. You want to say, I need a picture of a toolbox on a white background. The toolbox needs to be
Yeah.
open. We need to see a screwdriver, a wrench, a pliers, a plumber's pliers.
For images, it's even harder because there are like lots of variables that you should consider. But for
Right.
text, in the end, if you do think a little bit and explain what you want, you get much better results. And 90% of the time, independent of the model that you're using, you don't need to have these cutting edge models for most of the things. You'll get
Right.
something that you can work on. But on the other hand, if you just get to ChatGPT and say, well, write me an email, man, it doesn't know anything. The
Right.
truth is that AI is not intelligent. It has a heck of a huge memory. It learned about the whole internet, as we know,
Yeah, and
but it doesn't.
if you have an account on ChatGPT, every time you're typing something, it's learning about you, your style, what you're doing, in
It's
your
it's
business.
actually memorizing a bit about you, but the model itself stays the same. And this is the difference between humans and AI, because we can evolve, and the models, as of now, they are kind of static. So ChatGPT is stuck in, I don't remember the last training that they ran, but let's say December 2024. And that's what it learns and knows. Everything after that, it's kind of context. It's like
Right.
adding short-term memories for it.
Yeah, I was telling somebody, I said, you can go ask ChatGPT, say, oh, this is my website, www.nationwidepaymentsystems.com. I need a content calendar for the next 30 days about this one product, whatever that product is. This is going to be for business owners. I'm going to post on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I need some, suggestion for 2 posts every day, and it'll
Yeah.
spit out what a whole thing for
It's what it does. It can say no. It can get to you and say, look, Alan, I'm not exactly a huge SEO guy. I don't know much about posts, and I cannot judge what's a best post for a payment system instead of like a beverage company.
Right.
So it tries quite eagerly to deliver something that you like.
Right.
And well, with the content that we have on the internet now available, it's pretty comfortable. You can be comfortable of getting something that is good, maybe better than you would do it by yourself because it takes some time. But it doesn't mean it's good. So this is why there's always these like flea that you should like keep in the back of your head. So work a little bit on your results. That's the
you have to take what they give you, and then you have to enhance it. So let's say you're writing a blog post, and maybe doing a blog post might take you 3, 4, 5 hours.
That's
over a couple of days to put together a blog post. You could start off with a paragraph, then tell it the tone and who it's for, and it will literally pop you out a blog post. And then, when I do that, I take it, I put it into like Microsoft Word, and then I want it to sound more like my voice, right?
Yeah.
And how I want it to be, the tone that I want, and also make sure you don't have a bunch of complicated $10 words that the average person is not going to know what that word is.
Yeah.
And then you improve upon what you got,
That's perfect. That's the way to do it.
And that's what AI is all about. It's like taking your task that would take you 4 or 5 hours to do, and maybe you can do it in an hour.
Yeah.
And that's where I see, like right now, things that people can do with AI.
And it's amazing. I use my tool for pretty much everything that I do now. So either if I'm like translating content, I do speak English quite well, but I'm not like native. So sometimes I miss a particular word, and I have a preset prompt that improves my English and without losing my style. I do have a sort of a persona set that every time that I have it active, it writes as if it was Felipe. So it uses the same level of vocabulary and so on and so forth. But it's exactly what you said. It's a sort of a tool, and we should take it like a tool for now, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I've used it for different things. Like, I need to write a letter. I need to write an email. I needed to write an agreement one day, and I was looking at an agreement that I had, and I said, something was missing. I need something in there that says something about intellectual property.
Yeah.
And I said, in this contract, it's missing a paragraph on intellectual property, and it spit it out. And then you look at it, you go, okay, that sounds Rocky. My dog, he doesn't like ChatGPT.
You want to talk about AI with us?
He's like, we're talking about AI. There's no AI dog, Rocky. Come here. No AI.
So I use it for this and also especially for contracts. I hate reading contracts I don't know how it's law in the US, but here in Brazil, they're kind of repetitive and stuff. So I can throw in a contract and say, what are the parties involved? What are the key things that I should be aware? What are the risks for each of the parties? What are the cancellations? How is cancellation of this contract defined? And then I can read. And most of the times what happens is that I get to our lawyer and say, well, I noticed this, this, and that, and this, it's kind of worrisome because of this clause and so on and so forth. So it's easier for me not to be a specialist because ChatGPT is not a lawyer and Triplo is not a lawyer also, but it can guide me on learning a little bit about it and asking better questions the time that I need to do so.
Yeah, especially like, yeah, what any type of agreement, you can put it in there. You can say, oh, tell me, what are the term of the agreement? Is there any paragraphs contradicting each other, things like that? And then it'll highlight that for you. And
Yeah.
especially if somebody sends you a 20 or 30-page agreement, I mean, it's a lot to sit there and read yourself. And
Yeah.
you don't want to pay an attorney $200 or $300 an
Yeah.
hour,
Yeah.
right, to read a 50-page agreement. If you find a few things in there yourself, that's going to save everybody a lot of time, because you can
Yeah.
go back to the person and go, hey, I saw this, I saw that, I saw this. Is this negotiable? Is this not negotiable? Right.
That's
And
it. That's the way to go.
but I think today, some people are like getting content from Chat GBT or any of these other ones, and they're just copy and paste it and put it on their website. And I think that that's kind of not a good
I'm I'm
idea
in,
to do.
I'm into software, and I know like lots of sketchy practices of people all around. So let's just share an example with your audience. So everybody knows that SEO is an important thing. So
Right.
if you're like well positioned on your Google searches, you'll be like doing better with your business. So someone came up with the idea of like building massive content for blogs to rank better, and I think this is somehow an awful practice, but it's just what it is. Now, most of the blog posts that you see nowadays are not written by humans, and they do not rank because they're good. They rank because there's someone spitting 1,000 blog posts an hour using ChatGPT or OpenAI. No, Claude is better for that. Using Claude APIs to generate this content and adding pictures and goes down to the level of like locations and geolocations of searches. So if you search something like a plumber near Fort Lauderdale, chances are you hit one of these blog posts made for you to get this as a first result of Google. It's just what it is. It's a tool people will use for good things, some will use for bad things, and we got to accommodate and learn about it and take the best of it, following our ethics.
Yeah, we actually use a like an SEO tool that, so you can tell it, you can give it a page, and then
Yeah,
it'll tell you like, oh, here's the words you should meta tag,
yeah.
here's the hashtags you should put at the bottom, here's the
But
keywords.
you're still crafting the blog post and the page and the results. So
Right.
it's different from like pushing a button and saying, "Well, now hit me with 5,000 blog posts to cover the whole Florida regions or counties with good SEO results." And then without even reading that, you push it to a WordPress and you say, "Well, having only one blog, I can't achieve a good SEO result. So I should have 10 blogs posting 5,000 articles to cover Florida." And there you go.
I actually saw somebody that had a website like that,
Yeah.
and for some reason, I don't know, Google like found it, and they were like not happy about it.
Yeah. There's
Well,
always this discussion about like Google hunting people like doing these black hat things on SEO. And they should do it because they are under threat now because OpenAI is built a search engine for fight Google. So in a sense, they should deliver better results every day and filter these things out. But they say they don't care that much about AI content as long as it delivers the results for the users. So
yeah, I can't
it's
really tell. Like Google seems to be like very up and down about, what the search engine results. One of the problems I have with Google is, and even Facebook and anything else, mostly just Google and Facebook, because any place where you have to put an ad, right? They don't have a way for me as a business owner, if I want to have an ad that's only targeted to South Florida or only to Florida, right? I have to pay the same as a huge billion-dollar company, right?
yeah,
And they
yeah,
haven't figured out how to do that. Whereas if you go back to the old days. We're both older, so you had the yellow pages, you
Yeah,
had
yeah,
newspapers, right? And
yeah.
if you had the newspaper, and let's say you owned a restaurant, didn't matter whether you were a chain restaurant or a restaurant that did, millions of dollars a month, or a small restaurant, you could still buy an ad in the newspaper. You might not get a full page ad, but you could get a quarter page ad.
Yeah.
And we don't have that. Small businesses don't have that opportunity on Google or Facebook to get that, to get that local feel. I hear, we hear complaints from Congress and this and that, and then the EU, and they talk all about this stuff. But it's all pay to play now to drive traffic.
I don't think they ever thought they would achieve this size, because in the beginning,
Right.
like putting your ads online was a solution for that, because large companies would have like radio ads and TV ads and all of these like huge events, but the small business guys like you could use like Google to localize and put your ads in a good fashion, targeted to your specific audience in a region. But then it came up that everyone decided to use internet for pretty much everything, and all
Yeah.
the giants moved to the internet ads. And now Google, of course, looks and say, well, I'm going to care about the large guys that I have on my portfolio, or the smaller ones. But look, they don't have much to do else than fixing their search engine and their ads, because the competition is like crushing them. The truth is that Google in AI is far behind OpenAI, and even behind the open source models. What they
Right.
do have is a huge ecosystem that OpenAI doesn't have. So they have Androids, and they have like App Store, and they have Chromebooks, which I do know that is quite interesting business in the US, not that much in Brazil, but they hold this like final connection with the user, and hopefully, and I believe so, they sometime will catch up and bring something interesting to the table. As of now, they're just losers, and it's sad to see. Yeah,
Yeah, like now on the Google, when you run a Google search, you get at the top like a generative
yeah.
AI result also. They'll give you something, although it doesn't give you any citations of where they got this information from.
It's hard for them because it goes straight to their business model. Because if you got to put a summary of the results before the ads, chances are that people will stuck there and don't move to the ads, or just ignore the ads.
I
So
just wish they had I wish they just had a local, like you say, oh, I'm a local business, I want to advertise, and they had a way for you to do that, but they don't. And I think
when we end this conversation, I'll call Sundai and ask him to solve this for you.
to solve the problem.
Yeah.
So what do you think is like, here's things with AI I see people doing. Chat bots on websites. You think it's good or bad?
I think it's usually bad, but because it's kind of hard to understand, because it's very I don't know the word in English, but it's very
Robotic.
easy to fall. It's very easy to fall in love with AI.
Right.
If you're like, let's say my father, if he jumps into a computer and start talking with ChatGPT, he probably thought that was kind of like magic, because the answers are pretty good, and in the vocabulary is fantastic, and you can ask in Portuguese or in English and it goes the very same way. So it's easy to believe that it's good results. So what people came up with is this like chatbot solutions for like pop-ups that you can put on your websites. And the only thing I think a business owner should be aware is that there's absolutely no way for you to be sure that the answers will be correct. So
Right.
if you use that for like lead generation, if you're going to like sell your products and you put like generic information about the products that could be asked for this chatbot, and if you're like trying to catch someone's emails for a newsletter or a mailing list, that's good. It works. People is used to that. But if you try to use that for something more interesting, like real problems that your users are facing, or like billing issues or this kind of stuff, just don't do it. Because if, let's say, what are some of the easiest ways to break a chatbot is to ask the same thing many times, or changing slightly the question. So even though if it's prohibited, at one point after like 50 questions, it will like deliver the answer to you. And think, this can not only turn into a problem because a user could print out an answer from the chatbot and send to you and say, well, you gave me 90% discount and I'm trying to use the code and you don't allow me to do that. But depending on how you train it, this chatbot, there could be like licenses or keys or something that should not be shared and will eventually get shared. So think of it as a black box. So for foolish things, go ahead, use it. But for serious things, it doesn't cost that much to read again and understand and try to like wrap up better the solution, especially when you're talking with clients. That's the key. So
as a customer, I don't really like it. An AI chatbot. I'll interact with it, but I'm going to ask like, "Oh, I need a real person," and try to get a real person.
Yeah. We suffer this in telephones with the URAs. So every time we call it like American Express and press 1 for this, press 2 for that, press 3 for that.
That's really like, that's more like, a lot of people confuse AI with automation. That's more like automation. But I've gotten phone calls like from an AI before, and the AI is like, "Hi, this is blah, blah, blah from Florida Window Company," or something. And then, I'll ask it like a stupid question, like really stupid, and then they'll hang up the phone on you most of the time. But sometimes I've caught them where the person didn't really do good programming and the thing is confused and it starts saying other crazy, start saying stuff to you.
It's getting better. The voice generation is getting much better now. We have like 11 Labs, which is a company that is doing like amazing job, and I saw a couple of like video transcriptions out of their service. So they're not only doing the translation to another language, but also setting the matching the movements of the mouth with the sound. So it's amazing stuff that is coming, and it will eventually come, but it doesn't change the fact that the core of it, which is the message and what you're telling, is just uncertain. And we like certainty in business. At least I do. So there's kind of risk in new business, or like how to achieve better things, but you don't want to risk with your customers. That's the thing.
Yeah, I think that, I think people need to like experiment with it. They, see what they can do with it. But I think, like implementing a chatbot is not as easy as people think it is. It's not like you just stick it on your website and then it's all of a sudden going to read your website and know how to answer every.
One of the things I use all the time is like I have like this full documentation of Triplo AI. So I have a mind which I call which holds all of these contents. And I also extract this from FAQ, from like marketplaces that I have been selling. So I have this huge base of content about my tool. And whenever someone comes with a new ticket, I don't need to rethink that much about it. I can like jump into the question, bring Triplo to the screen, say, answer this guy using this, and that. So it's just like a very simple, short sentence that brings the perfect answer for this particular case. So since I know these things, I can hit send after that. So it's more for mundane users on my cases now. But those that takes time.
So if people want to experiment with AI, what do you think is the best kind of things for them to try out, like blog posts, content creation, and things?
Well, I think that ChatGPT is for sure the best entrance on this new tool, this practice. It's very good, especially if you're researching. If you don't know exactly what you want, you should use ChatGPT. I do use, if I'm like starting a brainstorm, if I want to explore different things, it's a very good way to start.
And
Then
who would be the perfect kind of customer that would use your product?
I'll usually solve entrepreneurs, people that is on a race against time, because the concept that I have on Triple AI and the idea behind it is that it's not like a cannon. I don't want to explode everything. I want an arrow to do a very precise thing with one shot. So whatever I'm like working, if I'm answering a support ticket from a Spanish guy, although I do speak Spanish, I don't want to spend time with that thinking and rethinking, remember the vocabulary, so on and so forth. So, and I don't want to leave the support ticketing system that I do use. So with a single hotkey, I can translate everything using AI, which is much better than any other tool. When I'm answering support tickets, I already shared that with you. I have a process where I have to create like pipe drive cards for business that for leads that I'm working on. And I don't want to jump into their sites and like extracting what they do and getting contacts and describing and so on. So I have an automation for that I trigger out of Triple AI. So it's always about those small things that I would have to jump into Google and search for an Excel or Google Sheet formula, and I don't want to do that anymore, and I can't do that anymore because it's kind of addictive. It's an assistant. It's always there. So if I
Right.
hit Control Space now, I see it over your face, and I can drag it around, and I can ask anything. I can ask, what's the weather in Fort Lauderdale now, and then it will answer me. And I could, for example, in a meeting, I already did that. I asked it questions about topics or acronyms or things that I didn't knew, so I
Right.
could like jump straight ahead and say, well, look, if you're considering the COGS of that product, you should. Oh, I do know what's the COGS, the cost of consumer goods, and these are the things that AAA does quite well. It's like a one-shot thing with like predefined prompts and minds and automation and personas that you can set, that it will always talk about the Brazilian Felipe or the Felipe speaking Spanish or someone that knows quite a lot about Python and have like automation set to deliver results to other things.
I didn't even think about, like, I guess it could translate, things into different languages. I never thought about it that way.
It's amazing. It's
It's
amazing
pretty
because
interesting.
the prompt I use, it respects the regionalities and slangs and this kind of stuff. So as a Brazilian, if I do speak fast or if I speak normally, of course I will have some slangs here. And when I translate this to English, I lose all the slangs. And translating this way using AI, it tries to keep the context of the slangs and use local slang. So I have, for example, we do have more than 200 smart prompts for that, which is a prompt for translation. And you can ask for it to translate to French as speaking France, as spoken in France, or in Switzerland, or in Guyana, because there are like differences between
Right.
the way people speak. So it's very, very good for this.
So if there's one piece of advice you could give a business owner about how to dip their toe into AI, what would you tell them?
I would tell, and I told it this quite often. I say this quite often. There's no way out. You got to learn about AI because if it is like as it is now, in 2 years, there will be no way of not working with it. You'll be behind your competitors if you don't have it. On the other hand, I'll reinforce, and I don't want to be that one repeating the things. Just be careful, especially when you're talking outside. I still believe that we are at a point where humans are still much better and more intelligent than any AI. No matter if it's GPT-03, which is the latest from OpenAI, we are still much better than it. But it demands you some time, and you should like review everything that it's spitting to be sure that it's good. So it's better for those who know what they want.
And if
If you
people
don't
want to
know,
find,
If
Yeah,
you
I
don't
get
know
it.
what you want, hire a specialist. That's the thing.
I say learn how to write prompts and
That's it.
experiment with that. So if people want to find your product, what's the website?
That's Triplo AI. Triplo is like triple in English with O.
Yeah.
So it's a Latin word for three times. And AI is the extension of these domains. So Triplo AI, I think you'll love it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate on dropping me a message on support. I'm always there. And I'm happy to help anyone learning more and doing more with AI.
So if you're looking to learn more about AI, hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Visit Felipe's website, check it out. I don't, and and start experimenting with AI. So thank you for listening to B2B Vol. Thank you for being on the podcast today, far away from Brazil, and talking about AI with everybody. I think this was a pretty interesting discussion, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. So if you like the podcast, share, like, and subscribe. Everybody, peace out and carpe diem.